Why can't I just play like that? People say this takes decades, but he's 13. 13! So maybe time isn't the issue. Maybe the way you practice is. I used to constantly worry I was wasting time. And honestly, maybe I was. It's only after changing these 4 things that I finally started making real progress. Many of my issues came from bad technique, but even when your technique is solid, you can still stay stuck. This video is here to fix exactly that. Growing up, I would go to people that I also knew were playing the piano, and I would ask them the pieces they're working on. Most of the time, they wouldn't even know, but if I asked them how they practiced, most of them sounded the same. It would be that they grabbed a piece which was already above their level, they'd play about 80% of it, get bored, move on. And then 3 years later, I would ask these same people the pieces they're playing, and they hadn't improved. The progress would be exactly the same, and the difficulty of the pieces would stay constant. So I tried to do things differently. What I would do is something like this. I would sit down, grab my piece, which was arguably way too difficult, much above my level, but I would convince myself, oh, it's not as difficult as I think, I'm better than I am, I'm just being ambitious. And then after picking this piece, I would start playing it. The beginning went quite okay actually, it went better than expected, but I would just stay on those more easy parts. I would just replay them because it sounded so nice. If I went to the more difficult parts, I'd mess up once and then start from the beginning because I'd love just playing those nice sounding parts. The thing is, and it only hit me years too late, if you keep doing this, you're making barely any progress. Because how could you make any progress if you're just focusing on the part you're comfortable with, and once a piece finally gets more difficult, you stop? And the thing I had to realize is that the hard part is actually where the growth is. That was the part I should have repeated the whole time. But even then, this piece was still way too difficult for me. So I took a different approach. I analyzed all of the techniques in the revolutionary etude that I couldn't play that well. So what I would do is I would find these techniques, isolate them, and then practice them individually in different etudes that are way easier than the original etude. So during the summer, I would have these 3 pieces I would play that would work on the left hand. And my idea was once I isolate this technique and I practice those, which would be pieces that I could handle, I would get better and get to the final point. Here's what I want you to do if a piece is slightly out of your range of ability. You should go through the sheet music and look at the techniques that are a little bit too difficult for you at the moment. Then you should find pieces that have that specific technique so you can isolate them. They have the same technique but at an easier level. If you do this consistently, you can build your way up, create a plan, and then eventually arrive at the piece you actually wanted to play. And while doing this, you will have improved way more than you otherwise would have. Just make sure you keep repeating those hard parts, because remember, the hard parts is where most of the progress lies. And then finally, once I realized I needed to focus on the hard part, I would think just playing that again and again and again would get me to be better. But just playing the piece isn't gonna do much. You're gonna keep making the same mistakes and you'll notice you can't progress. So what you're gonna need to do is practice with specific habits. Habits that are designed over time to help you filter out your problems in the piece. And the thing is, most of you probably already know this. The best habits don't need to be reinvented. They're already used so much. You just really need to integrate them. So let me give you 5 of the most important habits you need to use. The first thing I want you to do is to play at a slow tempo. Take the BPM at which you can play the piece and cut it in half. What this does is at a slow tempo, if you keep playing mindfully, you can think of all of the things you're missing and you'll actually have time so your brain can adapt. If you're constantly playing at your max, you don't have any time to breathe and you won't learn anything new. At this slow tempo, you should think, am I playing legato? Is my piece fully even? How's my dynamics? Think of everything you've learned and incorporate that. Number 2 is hand separate practice. This one should also be very obvious. I want you to start with the left hand and learn the whole piece just with your left hand. Then what I want you to do is take your right hand and learn the whole piece. And only once you can play both parts at about 80% of the final tempo, bring them together. And this may seem very slow because what we want is we want to hear the melody together as quickly as possible because that sounds nice and that's why we play the piano. But if you can have some discipline to wait and wait maybe 2 weeks to bring them together, you will progress more than double as fast. This works really well. You know this, but you just need to be disciplined about it. Number three is relaxation. While you're playing the piece, remind yourself constantly to relax. This is just a matter of building that habit of reminding yourself over time. Just think as much as you can, am I relaxed? Am I relaxed? Go back to your natural position. If you know what the hand position should be like, but you're not doing it, it's just a matter of reminding yourselves. And if you've done this 1,000 times in a piece, you will do it less and less and less. And over time, your body will naturally be relaxed all the time. Number four, this is a very straightforward one. This is no pedal practice. I don't want you to practice with pedal until you've learned at least 80% of the piece. And the reason for this is that using the sustain pedal just masks mistakes. It has its use, but early on you should build the fundamentals of the piece first so you can still understand the structure, build a musical ear, and learn throughout going. This just isn't possible if you immediately start using pedal. Number five is technique practice. Just add a small warm up with an exercise book before your practice session, and your technique will improve much, much faster. If you want some help with this, the first link in the description is a complete PDF telling you everything you need to do. One time I was playing in front of my teacher, and he stopped me. He said, something's off. I think you only practiced 6 times this week. I think you missed a day. And I was shocked. He could literally tell that I only practiced 6 out of 7 days. I have to tell you, piano practice is very different than many other things like going to the gym where you need a rest day. With piano, consistency is rewarded a lot. Playing only 10 minutes a day, which adds up to a little over an hour a week, is immensely better than just sprinting in the weekend and doing a 6-hour marathon. And the reason for this is that you just can't force this growth. There's this thing with our fingers that it needs to be reminded daily of how to play so you can reduce that tension and start building better technique. To really hit the point home, imagine you had a stroke and now you've got to relearn how to eat. Relearning those muscles just takes time. You just need to reuse them daily. And playing the piano is actually very similar in that regard. So what I really want to push you to do is to get at least 10 minutes of daily practice in. The return on those first 10 minutes just can be understated, and it's immensely difficult to get decent progress if you're not doing this. Obviously, don't stress it too much if you miss a single day, but you've got to understand that piano is something that just rewards consistency so incredibly much. The number one motivator in piano, and honestly in life, is to feel that you're making progress. Once you start implementing these habits and really just trust that they work, look back 2 months later and you'll see that you've improved so much. Once you get to that point, and trust me, it was the same for me, you look back, you'll feel way more motivated because you've been progressing so much, and then you'll double down on these habits. So even if it's annoying or you don't see any progress, just stick with these habits for 30 days. Record yourself now and then record yourself in 30 days and look back at the progress you've made. I guarantee you, in 30 days, you will double down on these habits because you've realized they work. And on the notion of feedback, something that's extremely important is to record yourself and then look back at the recording. Look at the way you're playing first. Is there any tension? Am I sitting wrong? What am I doing? And then listen analytically as well. Really try to hear about the mistakes you're making. Could you add more evenness? Where did my timing slip? How's my rhythm? There's so many things you've got to listen for that while you're playing the piece, you wouldn't catch them. This is something I'd recommend you to do like twice a week. And an added benefit is that once you look back in the future, you will be able to see your progress gradually because now you're making 2 videos a week on how you play. And on top of that, listening critically is literally one of the best things you could do to develop your inner ear. Within 6 months, you will listen back to your initial recording and you will hear so many other mistakes that you won't be able to tell right now. Also, one more thing, if you're feeling a little bit stuck with your piano practice or you don't know what to practice next, I just put together this whole piano program, basically teaching you everything there is and walking you through it step by step. I made it because I really know what it feels like to practice without really feeling like you're progressing. It's currently discounted, so if you need some more guidance, just take a look at the second link in the description. Other than that, if you just use the four things I mentioned in this video, I guarantee you will already speed up your progress. Thanks so much for watching.